Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour, Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance will give primetime speech in Milwaukee on day 3 of the Republican National Convention. Trump's son Donald Trump Jr. makes an appearance. US Secret Service head will testify to House lawmakers on July 22nd on Trump assassination attempt, even as calls from Republicans for Director Kimberly Chettle to resign intensifies. UK lawmakers will debate the government's plans for the country on Thursday to discuss the content of King's speech, examine proposals and implications over 6 days. European chief Ursula von der Leyen faces a tight vote on Thursday as she seeks to serve a second term. Italy's Meloni among non-supporters. EU could face political deadlock if she is not approved. All right, news in detail now. Today is the third day of the Republican National Convention, which is underway in Milwaukee. A crucial day for Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance. Vance is set to make a national debut with a primetime speech since he was named. Trump and Vance have each attended parts of the RNC, but neither has given an official convention speech so far. Today's RNC theme is Make America Strong Once Again, with a focus on military and foreign policy. His speech will likely be the 4-day convention's most watched moment before Trump speaks on Thursday night. And Donald Trump Jr. is currently addressing, beginning with the assassination attempt on his father this past weekend. He said Donald Trump showed in that moment that the next American president has the heart of a lion and a spirit that can never be broken. He also spoke about the man who died at the rally, Corey Compettor. A visual is being held tonight for Compettor at a speedway in Pennsylvania. All right, let's go across to Washington now. DD India's Benji Hire is joining us live. Benji, J.D. Vance to make national debut with the RNC speech, and he will introduce himself to a national audience and his first speech as the Vice President nominee. What do we expect?
Well, he'll be the latest to join this kind of roll call of sycophancy behind the Republican Party's nominee for presidency. We've already seen a wave of names take to the stage in the past few minutes. Donald Trump's own son, Don Jr., and in turn bringing out his own daughter to speak at this Republican National Convention. But all eyes shortly will be on Mr. Trump's running mate, a man who was initially a critic of the former president, comparing Donald Trump at one stage to Hitler. He's now amongst one of the converts to join behind Donald Trump, who's cutting a near messianic figure at the Republican Party convention following his close brush with death. I think there'll be three main things to look out for with J.D. Vance's speech. Does he come with a message of unity for a country that is so fractured and a campaign so volatile? He was one of those to immediately pin the blame on Joe Biden following Donald Trump's attempted assassination. Will he take that same tone tonight? Also, talking about his past, a personal story. This is an individual who came from a broken childhood, a story retold in a best-selling novel and a film, a stark contrast to the experiences of his billionaire businessman boss. And I think it's that which he'll lean on to try to introduce himself to the American public. And the third is hinting at foreign policy. J.D. Vance, an open skeptic of, for example, giving more aid to Ukraine. I think that ultimately this Trump-Vance ticket is bound together by this theme of survival, how the two of them have overcome, be it a broken home or a bullet, and that is going to be a powerful narrative to push forward to bring this Republican National Convention to the end of its penultimate day.
Right, Benji, also, like you mentioned, Junior Trump is speaking today. He took to the center stage. Apart from Junior Trump, tell us who all spoke today, lineup. And the focus primarily today is on foreign policy on the third day of the RNC.
Yeah, quite the eclectic mix, I've got to say, of individuals who have spoken so far. There has been some attention on strength, on America's standing in the world, on foreign policy, members of military families, bereaved, who have expressed their thanks to Donald Trump, despite, frankly, some offensive remarks that he's made whilst he was in the Oval Office about America's armed forces. We've also, interestingly, remember this is a party that prides itself on law and order, had Peter Navarro speak in the past couple of hours, a name that you probably wouldn't have heard of. He is a member of Donald Trump's former cabinet who have served time in jail for refusing a subpoena to attend a congressional committee investigating the January 6th riot, which Trump's critics say he incited. Navarro had been behind bars until today. He flew directly from jail to the Republican National Convention to speak, and all of these individuals praising Donald Trump, even those who had stood against him in the past, in the primary contest to become candidates themselves in previous days, have said that they are formally endorsing the former president to run for the Oval Office again.
Benji, also last question before we leave you. Tell us about the significance of the convention. I mean, is this also a chance for its members to show how united they are? In contrast to Democrats who are deeply divided over Biden's candidacy?
I think that is a real fundamental point here. It has been remarkable to see the adulation in the room for Donald Trump. Yes, he's a popular figure within the Republican Party. We already know that. But we didn't necessarily see that during the 2016 convention. There was still a huge amount of opposition to him at the time. The 2020 convention didn't really happen due to COVID-19. And now we have this one as the first chance. Of course, nationwide, Donald Trump is still deeply unpopular, but so is Joe Biden. And Joe Biden is deeply unpopular even amongst the Democrat Party base, two-thirds of whom say that he should withdraw from the candidacy, and there have been increasing calls for him to step aside. Now the Democrat Party are considering bringing forward, forgive me, the background's gone off there, bringing forward a roll call vote which would effectively decide for Joe Biden to become the candidate before the Democrat Party convention. But there has been protest amongst Democrat lawmakers about that. So as you say, a divided, disunited party, not really sure where to go. And then you look at the scenes coming from the Republican Party convention here, everyone is behind Donald Trump.
Absolutely. All right, Benji, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Washington, D.C. Moving on to our next story now, welcoming the stance of Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance, on Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said our country is ready to work with any U.S. leader willing to engage in equitable, mutually respectful dialogue on Wednesday.
I will reiterate and Putin mentioned this repeatedly. We will work with any American leader. We will remain ready to work with any US leader who the US people elect and which the leader will be willing to engage in equitable, mutually respectful dialogue. I wish to recall once again what I stated during the Trump administration. Despite the very serious sanctions, there was still dialogue underway, and this is useful in any case.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19, forcing him to cancel a campaign event in Las Vegas as pressure builds on him to drop his re-election bid because of his age. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said Biden would not be able to speak at a scheduled event in Las Vegas due to the diagnosis. The White House said Biden was experiencing mild symptoms and will fly to his home in Delaware, where he will self-isolate and continue to carry out all of his duties fully. The president's diagnosis comes amid intense scrutiny of his health and stamina after his fellow Democrats want him to drop his re-election campaign. And U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Chiettle has agreed to testify before the House of Representatives Oversight Committee on July 22nd for a hearing related to the shooting of former President Donald Trump at a rally. Security at the Republican presidential candidate's rally has been under scrutiny and a number of lawmakers have raised questions about it. The FBI said it was probing the shooting as an assassination attempt. Meanwhile, calls for Chiattle's resignation have intensified, with House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republicans adding their names to the list. Johnson said on Wednesday he will create a special bipartisan task force to investigate the shooting. The agency is also facing an inquiry by the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General. President Biden said on Sunday he was ordering an independent review of how security was handled at the rally. And UK lawmakers will debate the government's plans for the country on Thursday. It will be the first time most of the policies announced during the King's speech and Keir Starmer's address to Parliament will have a chance to be scrutinised by MPs. DD India's Stuart Smith reports from Westminster in London.
The King and Prime Minister have outlined the measures the government will take in this new session of Parliament. Now, lawmakers will spend their first full day debating what has been promised. The vast majority of what's been announced was based on the Labour Party's election manifesto, but the detail of the bills being brought to Parliament provides the first chance to see what exactly is being proposed. While former Prime Minister, now opposition leader Rishi Sunak was already taking Labour to task over some of its bills on Wednesday, he says the Conservative Party will not oppose the government for its own sake. Changes to football governance and measures to reduce smoking were bills brought over from the Conservative government. Other bills proved more controversial. While Labour says it will spend 2.5% of its GDP on defence, the Tories said they should put a timeline on when it will increase that spending by. The leader of the Liberal Democrats wanted Labour to go further than announced when it comes to access to GPs and dentists. And the Scottish National Party said it was disappointed there were no changes to the child benefit cap, a rule that means only the first two children in the poorest families are entitled to extra funds from the government. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer met his Irish counterpart Simon Harris at the British government's Chequers country residence on Wednesday. The meeting comes ahead of Thursday's European Political Community Summit at Blenheim Palace, Oxford, where European leaders will gather and discuss shared challenges such as Ukraine and migration. Earlier on Wednesday, Britain's new government said it would scrap an amnesty scheme for ex-soldiers and militants involved in decades of violence in Northern Ireland. Harris, who took office in April, has called for a great reset of ties with Britain, which have been fractious in recent years. And European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen will face the crucial vote on Thursday after spending weeks to convince lawmakers to back her for the second term. European leaders officially nominated von der Leyen at a summit in Brussels at the end of June. Road looks rocky ahead, with many saying they still have not decided whether to support her. One among them is Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Von der Leyen angered her when she struck a backroom deal with fellow Conservatives, Liberals, Greens and Socialists. The tricky part is Meloni heads the hard-right European Conservatives and Reformist group of MEPs, whose 78 votes could prove critical to von der Leyen's fate. In whole, von der Leyen needs to win over a majority of the European Parliament's 720 lawmakers on Thursday to secure the second term. Should she fall, officials in Brussels have made it clear but that there is no plan B if von der Leyen is not confirmed in her role. All right, time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. US announced termination of its floating piers near Gaza coast. Aid's delivery might be affected. We'll tell you how, amid high security alert in Paris before the Olympics, one killed in cafe terrorist crash. And the plane successfully rescued from snow-capped Argentine mountains. We'll show you the visuals.
As the world gears up for the biggest sporting extravaganza, Olympics 2024, we at DD India are all set to bring you reports, reactions, and all the latest action from Ground Zero. Watch DD India's super exclusive show, Cheer for Bharat. Only on DD India from July the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT. Get ready to cheer for Indian athletes at the Paris Olympics 2024.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. The 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China started its third plenary session in Beijing on Monday, an event that happens in fact roughly every 5 years. China's third plenum is a key policy meeting that will determine the country's development plan for the coming years. A communique of what's been discussed is expected to be released today. Xi Jinping has so far told the Communist Party it should show unwavering faith in its reform agenda at a time when China's economy is struggling. All right, let's go across to Hong Kong. DD India's Laura Westbrook has more information on this. Laura, China faces major economic challenges and friction with the West. Tell us what has come out of the plenum so far.
Yes, this is a 4-day meeting that has been taking place behind closed doors, and it is set to wrap up today on Thursday. And it is hundreds of Central Party Communist members are meeting behind closed doors, led by President Xi Jinping. This is a conclave that takes place every 5 years, and the third plenum is known to focus on the economy. We are waiting to see what this communique says when it's released later today, which will be released through state media. People will be looking for any hints on what is the policy direction of China. They will be looking for. The communique is set to deliver major policy ideas with more details coming out in later days. But the third plenum has been known in the past to be used as a springboard to enact far-reaching and significant policy changes. In 1978, leader Deng Xiaoping used the plenum to announce China's opening up and allowing the private economy to grow. In 2013, Chinese President Xi Jinping used the plenum to introduce a relaxation of China's one-child policy and its emphasis on national security. So this third plenum has in the past been used to set the stage for very significant policy shifts, but expectations for structural reform are quite low. Instead, analysts have told me that they are expecting a continuation of the policy initiatives that have been announced so far, such as Xi's new productive forces, which focuses on high-end manufacturing and its technology push. So people will be looking to see what comes out of this communique to deal with, as you mentioned, some of these very real challenges the Chinese economy is dealing with at the moment.
Laura, also, I mean, we are all waiting for the communique. You're saying it will be released today, but yes, business owners and investors will be watching to see if the party announces any immediate measures to try to counter a prolonged real estate downturn.
Yes, indeed. I mean, the China's economy is really in a bit of a slump. We had data released this week which shows second quarter GDP from April to June showed that China's economy grew 4.7%. That was below expectations and below the previous quarter of 5.3%. China has set a target of growing its economy 5% this year. We also had data that showed retail sales growth was also falling. New home sales had also dropped at its fastest rate in 9 years. So there are some very big challenges facing China's economy. Young people are worried about their jobs. There's also the embattled property sector. Domestically, companies will be looking for measures to boost consumer spending, and internationally, foreign investors will be looking for ways to get more access to the market. This week, a state journal had said that President Xi Jinping has emphasizing self-reliance. So investors, I think, will be looking as well as what that means. We know that steering China away from real estate investment and into high-end technology has been a key priority for Xi Jinping, and they will be looking to see what kind of policies will come out in the next year or few years that sets the tone of China's growth and how it looks to grow its economy.
All right, Laura, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Hong Kong. Moving on to our next story now. In a major blow that might affect the flow of humanitarian aid's delivery to conflict-torn Gaza, the US military has announced termination of its floating piers near Gaza coast. In a news briefing on Wednesday, the US Navy Vice Admiral Brad Cooper, who is also the Deputy Commander of US Central Command, said that the maritime surge mission involving the pier was complete and there was no further need to use the pier. The pier was operational for about 20 days and nearly 20 million pounds of aid was delivered to Gaza through this pier. Cooper said efforts to distribute aid to Gaza arriving by sea would now shift to the established port of Ashdod in Israel. Meanwhile, families of Israeli hostages held in Gaza increased pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to reach an agreement with Hamas to bring their relatives home before his scheduled speech at the US Congress on July 24th. The protests came out on streets in various held in locations across Israel after increasingly positive signs that the deal based on the one announced by US President Joe Biden may be close. Doubts have grown since Israeli forces target Hamas military leader Mohammed Daif in a strike on Saturday. Earlier this week, families of female soldiers who were captured by Hamas fighters on October 7th also demanded a commission of inquiry into the events. And the Israeli protesters to release hostages also raised their voice in New York during a meeting of the United Nations Security Council on the West Asia on Wednesday. Two women protesters stood with small signs and yelled for the release of hostages held by Hamas terrorists in the Gaza Strip. This demonstration happened as Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov began to address the 15-member body after a statement by Israel's UN Ambassador Gilad Erdan. This disrupted the proceedings of the Council as protests inside the UN headquarters in New York are rare. And NATO has appointed Patrick Turner to lead the alliance's work in Ukraine on Wednesday. NATO said that it had appointed a senior official to lead the alliance's work in Ukraine as part of a broader effort to intensify support for Kiev. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Patrick Turner is a British official who has held senior posts inside NATO. At a summit in Washington last week, NATO leaders agreed the transatlantic alliance would take on a major role in coordinating military aid and training for Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine exchanged 95 prisoners of war each on Wednesday in the latest swap on Wednesday. Russia's defense ministry said the returning Russian soldiers would be flown to Moscow for medical examinations and physical and psychological rehabilitation. It added the free troops had faced mortal danger in Ukrainian captivity. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky thanked the United Arab Emirates for its help in facilitating the swap. The prisoner exchange was a third of its kind in the past 7 weeks. Earlier in June, Russia and Ukraine exchanged 90 prisoners in a swap. Now, Germany plans to halve its military aid to Ukraine next year, despite concerns that US support for Kiev could potentially diminish if Republican candidate Donald Trump returns to the White House. German aid to Ukraine will be cut to 4 billion euros in 2025 from around 8 billion euros in 2024, according to a draft of the 2025 budget. Germany hopes Ukraine will be able to meet the bulk of its military needs with $50 billion in loans from the proceeds of frozen Russian assets approved by the Group of Seven, and that funds earmarked for armaments will not be fully used. Although military aid to Ukraine will be cut, Germany will comply with the NATO target of spending 2% of GDP on defense in 2025 with a total of 75.3 billion euros. And the security chief of Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado was arrested early on Wednesday, raising questions over whether the July presidential election will be fair and free. The arrest comes less than 2 weeks before the July 28th vote, where the opposition coalition's candidate Edmundo Gonzalez is polling significantly ahead of President Nicolas Maduro. Machado was barred by a court from running an election over alleged fraud violations, which she denies, forcing her coalition to rally behind Gonzalez. Several dozens of Machado's allies have also been detained. A non-governmental organization said on Monday that 102 people have been detained since the start of the election campaign on July 4th. 6 of Machado's former campaign staff are currently seeking political asylum at the embassy of Argentina. Now, Libya hosted the Trans-Mediterranean Migration Forum in its capital Tripoli, bringing together leaders from Europe and Africa to address the ongoing migration crisis in the Mediterranean region. Libyan Prime Minister Abdul Hamid al-Dabaiba and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni were among the key participants. The forum aimed at finding sustainable solutions to the challenges posed by migration from Africa to Europe. In his speech, Prime Minister al-Dabaiba highlighted the pressures on Libya, stating that Europe is using all means to prevent migrants while Africa pushes those in need. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni told the conference that the situation could not be solved without tackling in fact the problem in the countries of origin. All right, now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. 1 person killed and 6 others injured when a motorist ploughed a vehicle into a cafe terrace in the Olympic host city Paris on Wednesday evening. The driver of the car has been arrested and an investigation has been launched. France is on high security alert ahead of the Paris Olympics that starts on July 26th. An aircraft that had made an emergency landing on an Argentine mountain was rescued successfully. The aircraft had to land on a frozen lagoon in province of Chubut on June 29th due to technical problems. Its operator was rescued a day later. The Netherlands commemorated the 298 victims of flight MH17 that were shot down over Ukraine in 2014 with a ceremony on Wednesday. During the ceremony, the loved ones read aloud the names of all the victims. The event was attended by the bereaved and representatives from Malaysia, Australia, the UK, Belgium and Ukraine. All passengers and crew on board were killed. A towering Stegosaurus dinosaur fossil standing at 11 feet tall and 20 feet in length sold at Sotheby's, New York on Wednesday for a record-breaking $44.6 million, making it the most valuable fossil ever sold at the auction. The auction represents a significant milestone as it marks the first time an auction house has been involved in bringing a dinosaur specimen to market right from its discovery. In the downtown of Sisters in U.S. Oregon, covered in colorful quilts, this is a unique spectacle that has to be seen by all enthusiasts of fiber arts. The Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show takes place on second Saturday of July since 1975 in the beautiful setting surrounded by the Cascade Mountains. Visitors can see more than 1,000 quilts scattered across the city's buildings and fences representing various styles and stitches. This year, people and quilts arrived not just from multiple states but also from Canada and Australia. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Indian Navy rescues 9 personnel, including 8 Indians from capsized Falcon vessel of Oman. Search and rescue continues in challenging weather conditions. Security forces continue operations to track down the terrorists in Doordarshan district of Jammu and Kashmir. India plans to more than double its airport count to 300 by 2047 on the back of an 8-fold increase in the passenger traffic. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance gives primetime speech in Milwaukee on day 3 of the Republican National Convention. Trump's son Donald Trump Jr. also makes an appearance. U.S. Secret Service head will testify to House lawmakers on July 22nd on Trump assassination attempt, even as calls from Republicans for Director Kimberly Chiattle to resign intensifies. U.S. lawmakers will debate the government's plans for the country on Thursday to discuss the content of King's speech, examine proposals and implications over 6 days. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen faces a tight vote on Thursday as she seeks to serve a second term. Italy's Meloni among non-supporters. EU could face political deadlock if she is not approved. Indian Navy's mission deployed warship INS Stage, rendering SAR assistance for the capsized oil tanker MV Prestige Falcon, has rescued 9 personnel including 8 Indians. The MV had capsized about 25 nm southeast of Ras Madrak, Oman on Monday, and SAR efforts in coordination with Oman authorities are in progress since the next day. The MV is reported to have had a total of 16 crew, including 13 Indians and 3 Sri Lankans. The search and rescue by Indian and Omani assets is being undertaken in challenging weather conditions as the area is experiencing rough sea and strong winds. Indian Navy's long-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft P-8I is also assisting in search for survivors. In a step to further bolster the ties between the two nations, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has inaugurated India's first overseas Jan Aushadhi Kendra in Mauritius. Dr. Jaishankar, along with Mauritius Prime Minister Praveen Kumar Jugnauth, inaugurated the Jan Aushadhi Kendra on Wednesday. Dr. Jaishankar, in a social media post, said, and I quote him, "Delighted to inaugurate along with Prime Minister Kumar Jugnauth the first overseas Jan Aushadhi Kendra in Mauritius. This Aushadhi Kendra is the delivery of the promise made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier this year." He further added the India-Mauritius Health Partnership Project will supply cost-effective made-in-India medicines to augment public health care and enhance well-being, unquote. The External Affairs Minister of India also inaugurated the Mediclinic project at Grand Bois in Mauritius, which is made with Indian grant assistance, calling it the newest expression of friendship between the two nations. Speaking at the inauguration of the project at Grand Bois in Mauritius, Dr. Jaishankar said that the initiative will provide secondary healthcare for 16,000 people in the Grand Bois area. Expressing pride, Jaishankar said that health is a priority and all of us have become health conscious. Underscoring the other projects India has done in Mauritius, Dr. Jaishankar said they have had been expressions of our relationships.
Has gathered here for a very important event, which is the opening of the Mediclinic. I think it was described as the newest expression of our friendship. And I'm told it will provide secondary health care for 16,000 people of Grand Bois area. And we feel very proud to be a partner in this collaboration.
And search operations continue for the third day in Jammu and Kashmir's Doordarshan district. The village defence guards are reported to have exchanged fire with terrorists at Kalan Bhata last night and in the wee hours of Thursday during the ongoing anti-terrorist operation in the Desa forest area. 4 army personnel were martyred during the intervening night of Monday and Tuesday there. Army, paramilitary forces and police are carrying out intensive search operation using helicopters and drones. There are no reports or official confirmation of any casualties in the latest exchange of fire so far. Meanwhile, police launched major crackdown on our ground workers network and arrested 4 of them responsible for providing logistic support to the terrorists in Doda district. All right, let's go across to Doda now. DD India's Tahir Nadeem is joining us live to talk more on this. Tahir, the counter-terrorism operation is underway. The third day search for the terrorists continues. What is the latest you can tell us?
Well, Abhishek, today is 4th day of the search operation after encounter, but still the operation is going on. Security forces are treating very cautiously, but you can say this is the kind of what they have planned, that the search operation now has got limited to that Desa forest Bata area, that 15-kilometer radius, and this gives impedance because during last 24 hours, 3 incidents of bleak encounter were reported in this area. First, it was at 10:45 p.m. Then it was 2 a.m. in the morning. Then today morning, early morning, security forces which were there in a school at Kachigarh, they were attacked by the terrorists who are on the run, which ensued into a brief encounter which lasted for half an hour. Now, the unconfirmed reports are that 2 security forces have got some injuries and they have been shifted to GMC Doda, but there is no official confirmation still now on that. Search operation is going on, as you said, that there are very challenging terrain is there, and weather is also playing part because of harsh weather conditions. Choppers could not be moved freely, and even drones which are being used, there are hindrances in that as well. But the positive thing is the way VDGs are got engaged in this battle is a very positive thing. If we see that there are nearly 8,000 VDGs in Kashmir, and the largest number of 875 VDGs with 6,000 members in Doda, which makes them a very strong force. But the only thing is they are still equipped with the old 303 gun, which need to be loaded after every bullet they shot. But they have to compete, they have to fight with the terrorists which are holding M4 American-made carbine which are fitted with telescope, which recently is being used by the terrorists. Till now, they were using AK-47 or AK series of guns. But after Poonch encounter, it was established that there are some sophisticated guns than AK-47. And after the encounter which ensued a few days back at Gundu, where 3 terrorists were eliminated in a clinical operation, and the guns seized from them established that M4 guns fitted with 8x telescope are being used by these terrorists. But the VDG members, they have resolved that come whatever, if they are not provided the sophisticated gun, they will still fight the militant, and this time they won't let them escape from the Desa forest area, which is a very positive sign. Because in the given circumstances, you can't completely rely on these gadgets only. You need human assistance, and VDG is providing very good human assistance to them because of the topography of the area, because of thick forest and thick foliage, which the terrorists are taking advantage of.
Tahir, also, I mean, joint exercises are being conducted between the army and the police for better coordination of work, and also additional troops and equipment have been inducted to flush out the terrorists?
Agreed, Abhishek. There is no doubt about that. After these recent encounters, there was coordination, but that has increased with increased coordination. J&K Police, SOG Group, and Army is going through this operation. They are doing meetings. They are developing strategies to fight with these terrorists in this kind of a terrain, which is very important because the intelligence network which they have, which J&K police have and BDG members do have because of the affinity of that particular area. That is very important. And recently, in fact, yesterday, J&K police have launched a major crackdown on OGWs, and 4 OGWs have been arrested in Doda so far, and more arrests are expected, because it's very important in the given circumstances to break the OGW network, the kind of support they are getting from few locals, although a majority of the population is against them, and it was evident yesterday protest in Bhadrawad, Khatri and Kishtwar, in which people from all the communities came together and raised slogan against Pakistan and Pakistan-sponsored terrorists.
Right.
In the given circumstances, but there is some logistic support. We can't deny on that. And it sounds more important because right now the terrorists which are on the run and hiding in the park, they can get logic or some logic support from the nomads who are there on seasonal migration. But as soon as it comes in October, all the nomads come down towards the land, then they do require support of the local OGWs, which are there, are very few in number are there. And the J&K police, with the help of army, has launched a massive...
Got your point, Tahir. Yes, search operation still continues on the 4th day in Jammu and Kashmir's Doordarshan district. All right, I will leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Moving on to our next story now, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Girish Chandra Murmu, will inaugurate the International Centre for Audit of Local Governance in Western India's Rajkot. It will serve as a centre of excellence for capacity building of local government auditors. Its primary aim is to empower auditors, executives and elected representatives of local governments to effectively fulfill their roles through training and leadership development initiatives. It will also act as a knowledge centre and think tank for addressing governance issues at the grassroots levels across nations. The centre is committed to enhance the audit capacity and independence of local governments auditors to ensure improved financial performance assessment, service delivery and data reporting. And the authorities of the Jagannath Temple in Puri imposed restrictions on the visit of devotees for Thursday, as valuables from the inner chamber of the treasurer will be shifted to a temporary strong room. The valuables include precious gems and jewellery, statues of rare metals, gold and silver coins, crowns and other expensive ornaments. The official said shifting was necessary to carry out conservation work inside the chamber. Information about the treasure troves will be revealed to the people during the counting of gems. Earlier, the temple was reopened on July 14th after 46 years for preparing an inventory of valuables and the repair of its structure. And now India plans to more than double its airport count to 300 by 2047 on the back of an 8-fold increase in passenger traffic, a draft plan made by the country's airport authority showed. This will involve developing existing airstrips to full-scale airports and building new ones from scratch.
Sector. By 2047, the country aims to more than double its number of airports, reaching a total of 300. This ambitious goal is driven by an expected 8-fold surge in passenger traffic. Currently, India has 108 operational airports. To meet the growing demand, the Airports Authority of India has outlined a comprehensive expansion plan. This includes upgrading existing airstrips into fully operational airports and constructing new ones from the ground up.
That is the commitment of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, and he has said before also, Hawai Chappal se Hawai Jahat tak. And he has been committed since day one that aviation should go to reach 240 crore people of this country. Everyone should be able to travel, and with that commitment he has launched the Udan scheme, and through that we have built new airports. In 2014 there were only 70 airports in the country. Now we have expanded to 157 airports, and like you said, in the next 20-25 years we want to double this number of airports, and there is good scope also.
Approximately 70 airstrips will be developed to accommodate narrow-body aircraft such as Airbus A320 and Boeing 737. Additionally, around 40 airstrips may be upgraded to serve smaller aircrafts. In cases where an airstrip cannot be developed or where no civilian airport exists within a 50-kilometer radius, a new greenfield airport will be considered. According to the draft National Airports Development Plan, annual passenger numbers are expected to surge significantly, reaching between 3 billion to 3.5 billion by 2047, up from the current 376 million. International air traffic is projected to constitute around 10 to 12% of this total. Looking forward to 2047, with an estimated per capita income of $18,000 to $20,000, India is projected to achieve an average of one trip per person annually. This means the country could potentially accommodate over 3 billion passengers by that time. This is a new dawn in India's aviation sector. This expansion not only promises to enhance connectivity but also drive economic growth and provide greater convenience for millions of travelers. India is truly set to soar to new heights in the world of aviation. With Person Naveen, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Olympic torch relay makes its way through Ain to culminate with lighting of cauldron, opening ceremony of Paris Olympics on July 26th.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Weather updates now. The flood situation in Assam continues to improve on Wednesday as water levels across major districts was receding. The regional Met Center in Guwahati predicted no rains for the next 2 days. However, flood-like situation still rises in Golpara after a rise in level of Brahmaputra River. Presently, 15,000 inmates are taking shelter in 122 relief camps across the state. All right, DD India's Momita Biswas is joining us live from Guwahati. Momita, what is the current situation in Assam? Some improvement and good forecast for the next 2 days?
Yes, Abhishek, the current situation, the flood situation in Assam is quite improving gradually as the water level in many of the tributaries and the rivers has been decreasing. According to the Assam Disaster Management Authority, no death has been reported in the last 24 hours, which is also a kind of positive news. If we talk about the relief and rehabilitation thing, then relief and rehabilitation is going in full swing. The government is trying every possible help to take out the people and shelter to them in the relief camps. The Chief Minister of Assam, Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, has also directed his ministries and the administration, to frequently visit those flood-affected areas and to look after so that anything required to them, any immediate requirement is needed, can be fulfilled. If I talk about the number of villages and, the districts, it has also reduced to 14. Only 14 districts currently under flood-affected areas. According to the Assam Disaster Management Authority, as we follow the authority departments, so there are only 14 districts and the villages are 800, which are completely, a little bit of inundated. And regarding the weather here, the department has also said that no rains, or their prediction has been done that no rains will be in coming 2 to 3 days. So if this prevails, we can assume that the flood situation will improve gradually in coming days, Abhishek.
And now, Momita, like we were talking yesterday also, Assam Governor met Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and also Home Minister Amit Shah spoke with the CM Himanta Biswa Sarma. Central government has assured all possible help to Assam in rehabilitation work?
Yes, Abhishek. I have also informed yesterday that there was a telephonic conversation with the Assam Chief Minister, with the PM, Prime Minister and the Home Minister. They have assured complete assistance that any kind of help required or any kind of relief camps or relief materials required for the flood affected. The central government is there. The full support will be provided. Assam governor has met with the Prime Minister. They have also assured that any kind of requirement, any kind of for the flood victims is required. The centre has assured full assistance to be provided to the state government.
All right, Momita, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Guwahati. Kerala is bracing for a tough next few days as the India Met Department had forecast possibility of widespread rain in the state. A red alert was issued in Wayanad district on Wednesday in view of the possibility of extremely heavy rainfall. Orange alert has been announced in several other districts including Kottayam, Ernakulam and Kozhikode. Yellow alert is in force in Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam among others. The heavy rainfall has caused waterlogging and flood-like situation in several low-lying areas. A total of 4 rain-related deaths were reported on Wednesday, prompting setting up of relief camps and other aid. And now let's take a look at weather updates across the world. The Balkans, along with much of Europe, continued to swelter in a prolonged heat wave on Wednesday. Temperatures sizzled across the Balkans this week, with most countries in the region, including Croatia, Montenegro and North Macedonia, expecting temperatures of around 39 degrees Celsius. In Bosnia, people were seen rushing to fountains to get some relief from the scorching heat. Serbia's Public Health Institute declared dangerous conditions in 10 municipalities. The Adriatic Sea hovered at temperature around a record high 29.5 degrees Celsius in several coastal resorts of Croatia. And a time-lapse video has captured the dramatic spread of worsening wildfires in the Sequoia National Forest in Tulare County of California. Ignited by a lightning strike in the forest on July 13th, the fire has intensified since Tuesday. The National Interagency Fire Center said the fire has grown over the past 2 days, consuming thousands of acres of forest. So, all right, sports updates now. We'll start with tennis. India's star tennis player Sumit Nagal will face Argentinian world number 36 Mariano Navoni in the men's singles round of 16 in Sweden Open on Thursday. Earlier, Nagal defeated Swedish Elias Yama 6-4, 6-3 in the round of 32. However, in the men's double clash, French duo Alexander Muller and Luca Van Asch defeated the Indian-Polish pair of Sumit Nagal and Karol Zawiecki in straight sets. Meanwhile, Nagal achieved a new career high ranking of 68 in men's singles category in the latest ATP rankings. And the Olympic torch relay made its way through the Department of Ain on Wednesday. Stage 59 of the relay saw torchbearers start in Chateauthierry before finishing up in Saint Quentin, where French kickboxer Emilie Machoud led the cauldron. Meanwhile, Thursday's stage will move through Oil Department from Compiègne to Beauvais. The relay will culminate with the lighting of cauldron in the host city Paris during the opening ceremony of the Games on July 26th. The world is celebrating Nelson Mandela International Day today. The day is celebrated every year on July 18 to honor the life and legacy of a man who changed the 20th century and helped in shaping the 21st. This year, the theme is still in our hands to combat poverty and inequality resonates deeply with crises being faced by poor all across the world. This event here marks Nelson Mandela's 106th birthday, commemorating his lifelong campaigning for equal rights. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.